I'm Janet.
I'm Jacia.
I'm Rachel, and this is Walk is Happening.
In this episode, we're going to be talking about all things procrastination, why we do it, what we do during procrastination, and just our general thoughts about it. So, yeah, right now, for at least me and Janet, we have exams, mock exams. So, very fitting for what's going on for us right now. And Rachel, you probably have some stuff due soon too.
Yeah,
So,
that's why
yeah.
we're procrastinating and doing this episode. Janet, should we
Um,
hear from you first?
I think personally for me, I noticed that I procrastinate more for certain subjects than others. So I think procrastination definitely has some sort of maybe fear element. Well, for me, it has some fear element built into it. And it depends on how interested I am in the subject. Because, well, the subjects I take are bio and then math, English, Chinese, almost everyone takes. Then I do business and geo. So for me, I noticed that I procrastinate the most for geo and Chinese because, well, okay, for Chinese, it's definitely because I have some sort of innate fear built into it, and I'm scared of the subject somehow because I think that I'm really, really bad at it. So it might be also an ego thing, I guess, associated with why I procrastinate for Chinese. But then for geo, it's not that I'm not interested in it, but I think the way that geo is taught to us, at least in the school system, makes it more boring than the subject actually is.
For me, it's the opposite. Like, I procrastinate on subjects that I think I am quote unquote better at, and I don't procrastinate as much for subjects that I'm bad at. Like, for example, for Chinese, like, I think I'm bad at Chinese, but then I spent a lot of time doing past papers. I've done like one throughout the last week. But then I haven't touched like the subjects that are actually very important, like my sciences, like chem and bio. I haven't really touched them. I think it's also like fear thing because I don't want to let Chinese pull down my whole IB grade. So like I feel like I'm confident in the sciences, so therefore I just leave it to the side. But then that's not a good way to do things because I neglect the subjects that I'm perhaps better at. And I spend too much time on subjects that I'm like okay, but like don't need as much time on.
I guess it makes sense doing the things that you think you're bad at so that you don't like eventually fail. But I also get because for me personally, I'm more of like, well, okay, I'm not like that smart, so like I'm just like I just kind of procrastinate in all of all of my subjects. Like I don't okay, like for example, I I do sometimes I do what Janet does, so I procrastinate more on the stuff that I don't find a particular interest in. So like for example, I really like bio. So I would spend more time studying bio because like one, I like it, and two, is because it's like it's actually a really tough subject to study for because there's like so much I have to remember, right? So obviously, like I don't want to push that back, but I also take geo, right? So like, I mean, geo it is a little bit boring, but I also think it's a subject where you don't. It's just like common sense. Like I think if you know what's happening in the world, you can kind of apply what you know, and then you just kind of like wing it, right? Sometimes, unless like you have to remember a specific case study. But yeah, so I think like man, procrastination is hard because I think I I don't always procrastinate, but I procrastinate quite a bit. But you know, it's not like that bad. So yeah, like there are just some things that I prefer to procrastinate. So like for example, like math. I'm bad at math, and I know I'm bad at math. But because I don't particularly like math, and I know I'm bad at it, like I don't think I practice it as much as I need to. Like, right, I just practice. I'm like, okay, I'll wing it. I don't wing it, by the way. But yeah. So like, that's my thoughts on procrastination.
Well, like for me, like Rachel saying that you actually procrastinate on the subject you think you're better at, I'm actually the complete opposite. Like, I think I procrastinate on the subjects that I think I'm not good at, which means that I'm better at the subjects that I don't procrastinate at, only because I actually put in the effort to do the subjects, like the remaining subjects. So for example, it's not that I don't procrastinate, but I procrastinate relatively less for subjects such as bio and business. And in turn, I think it's easier for me to get higher grades for bio and business simply by the function that I put in more effort into these subjects and I don't procrastinate on these subjects.
Yeah. Okay, but like, so what about like procrastinating for, because I feel like doing procrastinating and studying, like, is it different than if you were like doing IA or like, because in IA I think it's something that you can grasp it easier, right? You can, you know, and or like something like your EE or whatever, right? Okay, wait, EE is a bit much. EE is like a whole 4,000 word essay, but like, yeah, like, do you think you would procrastinate on like doing your IAs compared to procrastinating like when you're studying for exams?
I think for IAs, it's different for me because once I think it's really important for IA in order to like really get into the zone, you have to understand what you're doing. So for me, whenever I'm doing IAs, it's always like there's a period of time where I feel really, really, really confused about what I'm going to do because I don't have a proper like plan of attack, if you will. But once I have a plan or at least an idea of where or how I want my IA to eventually end up looking like or in the direction that I wish to go in, it's almost as if like it clicks and I can work really quickly and finish it really quickly. But before that, there's always this period of what the fuck am I doing? Once I get over that little road bump, well, it's not necessarily little, but once I get over that obstacle, it's usually more smooth sailing. But for studying, there's always certain topics or ideas that I find difficult to grasp. And I always end up going back to the same thing, even though I'm like, okay, I got this. I think I got this now. And then I return to it. And I'm like, wait, no, I don't got this.
True. Like for procrastination, like I also get what you mean by like not having a plan of attack, but I also think that procrastination, like to some extent, is also like fear based. Like for exams, like there's the fear of like the uncertainty of what they're gonna put. So therefore, like I might like spend more effort trying to study because I don't want to like look like a fool in front of my teacher, or like I don't want to get a bad grade and then like have them like predict me like low. But then for like IAs, it's like I don't know, the fear isn't really there for me. Although it's like externally graded, but like at least I have time to prepare and I know what they're gonna grade me on. I know like what I'm gonna hand in. But like the exam, the kind of fear makes me more productive than like say IAs because I know I can, I don't know, finish it within a week if I really wanted to.
Yeah. Also, for those who don't know what an IA is, um, although like most of our audience is like takes IB, but like an IA is an abbreviation for internal assessment. So every subject, there's like a component that you have to. So it's usually like written, so it's almost like a report. It's like lab report or like a report on like some like business or like some stuff, right? And then yeah, and then it gets like internally assessed. But this year they're externally grading it, so yeah. But I think like IAs, yeah, I think it's a lot easier to handle because once you're like, yeah, like what Janice said, like once you know what you're doing, then you can just get it done, right? And especially like when like if you know you have like a first draft, then you just try, right? You just see what works, you do it, and then like they're like, okay, it's good, and then you just finish it, and then it's like that's it, you're done. And I feel um like sometimes like okay, so like for art, our IAs, well, I don't know if anything's actually internally assessed, but every component that we have to write takes freaking way too freaking long. Okay, so we have to do this thing called a comparative. So we already did it. So in a comparative, the first 20 pages, you have to compare 3 artists with their respective artworks, and you just like talk about it. You have to first analyze it, you have to research about it, then you have to talk about like the culture, and then you have to like compare it with each other, and then like all 3 together. So it's like I think my final thing came about to like 7,000 words. So it's much longer than an EE. But like it takes so long. So sometimes like I would, because it's like so long and I don't want to do it, I just like procrastinate. But I know it's bad because it's something that's like pretty hard to do. But in terms of like other IAs, like the basic like subjects that everyone else takes, yeah, like once, so like for math, I didn't know what I was doing. And then like once I like sort of knew like what to do and like how to solve the problem, like I did it. Like, yeah. And then like when my teacher checked it, he's like, it's pretty good, right? Like your ideas are there. So it's like, it's fine. Yeah. So I think it is just getting over that like initial like bump. Yeah.
I think that's the thing with procrastination though. It's like if the task is too easy, then you procrastinate and you don't want to do it because you're like, yeah, I can do that really quickly. But if the task is too hard, you're like, fuck, I don't want to do that. It's so hard. I'm like, I'm not feeling it right now. So it's almost as if it's like procrastination follows like this Goldilocks principle where there's like this optimal threshold or a point that it must be a little bit hard, but it must also not be too hard. Otherwise you won't be able to do it. Not you won't be able, but you won't want to do it. That's the annoying thing with a lot of things about school though. Like circling back to my procrastination for Chinese and Geo, like it's a perfect example. Like Geo in my eyes is like easy. So I procrastinate on it. But Chinese in my eyes is too hard. So I also procrastinate on it. It's like
Before, I had a state where I successfully conquered like productive procrastination. What I would do is like when you said like as you said like there's a hard task that you have to do and there's like a deadline for it and you don't want to do it. So I would substitute the hard task for the easy tasks. So like for example, I have to reply to like 10 emails and then I also had to write my IA for example. And then I would procrastinate on my IA by doing my emails. So it's like I'm substituting my tasks. So it's like I'm being productive, but I'm also procrastinating. So I
Yeah.
think that was like my highlight of my procrastination life was the best that I could do. But then I've kind of fallen back into the lazy procrastination cycle where I don't do anything productive. For example, when I procrastinate, I like to watch YouTube videos or like I like to watch shows. It's not really like effective or productive for me to do that, but then I still do it. Like, what do you guys do when you procrastinate? We've been talking a lot about like we procrastinate on what kind of tasks, but what do you do when you procrastinate?
I eat a lot when I procrastinate. Like I snack. I snack on so many things when I procrastinate. It's like, okay, I don't want to do this task now. So I walk out to the kitchen, I open the fridge, and then I scan and then I skim the fridge for any food. And I'm like, okay, there's yogurt inside. So I take the yogurt, I eat it. I walk back into my room. And then like 45 minutes later, I walk back out and I'm like, okay, I'm hungry. Now what is inside the fridge? It's as if I did not just open it 45 minutes ago.
Oh my god, so cute.
And I keep doing that. It's terrible. And I end up eating like, I don't know, like, yeah, okay, this happened to me yesterday. I ate yogurt. I went back into my room. I went out and I ate chestnuts. I went in, I went out again. And then there was like almost nothing in the fridge anymore. So I opened a can of tuna and I ate that like straight from the can.
Dude, oh
Yeah.
my god, you need to go grocery shopping.
Exactly. Your
It's so
snack
bad.
choices.
That's so cute. Oh, when I procrastinate, oh god. Okay, so recently, like I've been well, because I don't have another exam until like Wednesday, right? So past 2 days, I've basically been procrastinating. Yesterday, I went out with my family, which is fine. But the day before and like the day after the math exam, I was like, I'm gonna take a rest because one, I was like sleep deprived. I like so freaking tired. And so I just been watching like streamers. Like I just watch YouTube and I watch Twitch streams. That's all I do. Like I don't do anything. I just like sit here and like just like this. And then time passes by and like by the time you know it, like for me, I have like this perception of time where it's like from the morning until like let's say like 12 or like 1. Like I can like that's like time for me, like I can do some work, right? Because I'm a morning person, right? Okay, so like I, sometimes I'll wake up early and do work, right? But now I just wake up and then I just watch. It's like time for lunch. I eat lunch, I watch again, and it's only like 4. And I'm like, 4 is close to 5, which is close to 6, which is close to 7, so it's almost dinner. So I just keep watching. Like it's so bad. Like, yeah, sometimes like, you round time up. So it's like, okay, it's close enough. So I just keep on doing what I'm doing and I'll do whatever I need to do afterwards.
Oh
I
my
don't do
god, there's
that.
a meme. I swear there's a meme on that. It's like when you plan to do work at say 5, and then you look at the clock, it's 5:05, and you're like, oh, guess I have to start the next hour at 6.
Yeah, that's what I do.
When really like in your heart that okay, it just passed 5 minutes. I'll just start 5 minutes after my intended start time. But no, you just wait until the next hour.
Yeah. Oh, it's so bad.
But like, do you feel guilty from like
Oh yeah, I
procrastinating?
do.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for myself. Like, yeah, it's like when I procrastinate and like the day's over, I'm like, shit, I actually haven't done anything today. So I need to do something tomorrow, right? Because I know I'm not the person that would like procrastinate to very last minute. Like I wouldn't do something like an hour before it's due, right? I don't do that. I would finish it. Okay. I know some people do that, but it's fine. Whatever works for you, right? But that does not work for me. So I know like if I'm like shit, I haven't done anything today, so like I have to do something tomorrow, so I'm prepared, right? So it's like, yeah,
That's the thing with me too. Like, I have friends who think I don't procrastinate at all. Like, I've a lot of people think I'm really, 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 really productive. Like, it's not that I'm
Yes.
not. It's just that like I procrastinate too, and I don't think people realize that. Like, I like to finish my work at least 3 to 4 days before the deadline, even if I procrastinate, because I am really productive. But it's more because I know I will feel super, super anxious if I finish just before the deadline, and I don't want to feel that way. But then obviously, there's some people who work really, really well under strict or like very tight deadlines. Like I know Rachel is like definitely like a due today person. But she gets the job done, and like the
yeah,
quality of work is still there. So
yeah,
like to some extent it's like I look at myself, I'm like, I finish my work, I plan my time, I finish it really early, and it's spread across a really, really long time frame, and this is the quality of work I produce. And then there's some people who finish the same amount of work in like half the time that I allocated to it, but still produce the same quality of work. I'm like, I admire these people. Like, how smart are these people? Like, that's the way I think. It's like, it's not just Rachel. Like, there's plenty of people. I'm pretty sure. I think Alena is also like that. Like, I tell her this. I'm like, you always procrastinate and you finish things at such a just right before the deadline, but the quality of work you produce is still so high. Like, how on earth do you do that? I could never. I would panic, and I would crumble. I'm telling you.
I think there's a misconception. Like I do work until the last minute, but then like what I do is similar to you. I usually finish like 1 or 2 days before the deadline, and then I send it out to people who are willing to help me read over it. And then they'd give comments like, "Oh, this is not good," and then I'll be editing it until the very last minute. So that's like my kind of deadline fighter kind of scheme.
Right.
Like
So
I
that's just
finish
because
the
you're a
task.
perfectionist.
Yeah, yeah.
oh, yeah. Like that's like I think that's smart though. Like it's good because then like when you finish like before deadline and you can also get feedback, right? For me, man, okay, I don't like I used to this is like before DP. I feel like DP was when I like got my shit like got some of my shit together. Okay, no, I'm not saying I got all my shit together, but like I used to like would probably do it until like I remember I did a lab report and I was like at the dinner table because you know like I eat in my grandma's house, right? So I like one night I literally brought my laptop over to finish my lab report and I finished it like I had it like 10 minutes before deadline. I was like shit, right? But like now like I finish at least like 1 to 2 days at least, okay, at least 24 hours before the deadline, right? Because I feel like it's so because now the deadlines like in our school they're like in the morning, right, instead of night. So they use because yeah, a lot of people said it to like a lot of the teachers they said it to like 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. or like by like end of school, so like 3:10. And I'm like I am not going to do work in school, like because I'm in class. Like I don't do like okay, not in that way, but like if it's a day is due, I won't skip class to do it, you know? Like I like to do it before so I could do whatever I need to do in class, right? If that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah.
I remember at the beginning of DP, I was I actually did work in class. I realized, like, when you think about it, we're in school for 7, 8 hours. Like, okay, not including break and lunch. So we have, say, 6 hours, 5 to 6 hours of class time. 5 to 6 hours of class time to actually do work is actually a lot of time. And well, obviously, some lessons will be actively learning, so we won't be given time to actually do our stuff. But if we are able to utilize the 5 to 6 hours that we're actually in school to do work, when we get home, there's actually a lot less that we have to do. It's just that nobody ever does things in class. And I don't know if that's a function of the environment, of like just like not feeling it in the morning, or like, I don't know. I feel like it's a mixture of things. sometimes there's definitely a thing like I don't want. It's like it's like FOMO. Like you see your friends talking in a group, and even if you want to work, you're like, I don't want to miss out. I have to be in that conversation.
That's
So you end
us
up
in
not
math.
working. Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like us in math. We never do anything in math. Well, actually, sometimes we do things in math, but it's like it's almost like it's like a ripple effect. When
Yeah.
one person stops doing something, that person starts talking to the person they sit next to, and that person starts talking to the person they sit next to, and then it forms a big group of people that huddle together, and they just start talking the whole lesson.
That's
It's
literally
literally a
us.
ripple effect. It's literally a ripple effect. So I think it's really important. Like, have you ever noticed that when we actually do things in class, like there are lessons like that. Don't get me wrong. There are lessons where people actually do things in class. But whenever that happens, it's very rare that there are some people who do work and some people who don't. Whenever we do work in class, it's always the whole class is collectively doing work together.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, because no one is talking,
Then it's like
people are
you.
just yeah,
Like,
exactly.
yeah. Like I think now, like obviously I think beginning of DP, like more people are inclined to like do work in class and focus because it's like, you know, it's the start of DP, like a whole like 2 year you know, whole like shebang, right? And like, you know, you want to like try and like see what it's like, get your shit together. But I feel like now, I think okay, for me, I know which classes I'm productive in and which classes I'm not, because so for me, like in art, I'm very productive. I always do art in class because I know art takes so freaking long. Like it's so time consuming. And some people are just like, yeah, it's just art. It's like, no, is so much more than that. Cause like, and I know like if I miss like an art lesson or like if I'm like sick, right? Or I don't have anything planned to do during that lesson, like I feel bad because like it's actually so much. Like you have to research, you have to plan, then you have to do it. Or you have to like test and then you have to do it. But you don't know how long it's gonna take, right? But for other lessons like okay, like math or um like sometimes I don't do work in geo, but he doesn't know.
Sometimes I never do work in geo. No
No,
one
or
ever
like
does work in geo.
sometimes like I'll like write notes in geo, but I'm like watching like Netflix on the side. Like I don't fully focus. I just like read what I just like read and type, but nothing like goes through, you know. So yeah, I think for me, like in school, I hope none of our teachers are listening to this. So like I'm pretty sure they did this when they were in high school. It's fine.
Mhm.
But like yeah, like I have some classes that I'm more productive in than others just because like yeah, I think it's probably because of the environment as well.
Speaking of being productive, though, I feel like recently I've been experiencing a dip in productivity because it's almost as if I've begun to feel complacent with myself. Because, first of all, PGs are out, and then uni apps have all been sent out. So in my mind, I keep telling, and also, like, these mocks, like for these mocks, I'm definitely not putting my 100% into it. If I'm being honest, I'm putting like 55, 60% into this mock. Like,
And still gets a 7.
well, we didn't get our grade back yet, just saying. But because we've been reassured so many times that these mocks don't matter, and I know that my PGs have been out and uni apps have been sent, I'm like, okay, these don't matter. And I feel like I have this huge it's almost like I have a safety net because I've also received offers. And I end up not putting in the effort I know I'm supposed to be putting in. And it kind of scares me. And I don't really know how to get out of this rut, if you will.
I think it's just burnout. Like a lot of us are also experiencing similar things. It's like we've been working so hard on our IAs, our EEs, our uni apps, writing essays for everything. Like it's like a rubber band. We're being stretched so much that like we're about to snap. So we're like rebelling. So we're like trying to like find ways to like relax, like loosen the tension, you know? So I think it's normal. So like after like we like rest and like procrastinate to like loosen the tension, then I think we'll get back into the mood. But I think we're just experiencing that phase of like trying to reduce our pressure and stress.
I also find myself beginning to look for excuses though. Like because of the situation, this whole COVID situation that we're in, and the fact that A levels have officially been cancelled, in my mind, there's this anticipation that IB exams will eventually be cancelled, which then adds on a further factor of demotivating me to not study as hard as I should be studying. Because I'm like, well, if A levels are cancelled, then it's very likely that IB exams won't be held in the UK. And then because of that, it's very likely that IB exams won't be held at all. So
Let's
I'm
make
like,
a bet.
oh yeah, we should.
And then we look back to this episode. Do you think we'll have exams?
Dude, That's so okay. I say yes because I read something on Reddit. And it said on the IB thread, it was like this IB coordinator posted this thing saying that um it's now dependent on the country, like and the school. So if so there's like two routes. There's the examination route and like the calculated route. So the calculated route is basically based on like IAs and I think probably like what the teachers like semester grade or like anything that you do in school, right? And the examination is that you take the exam. So it depends on like the country. And then I just saw on the IB website like yesterday that they so I think they used to have like COVID-19 updates, but now they're like there's no updates for COVID-19 um for like May 21 exams. So they're like ask your coordinators, like your teachers or whatever, for updates. So I think I think they're implying that like they're basically saying, fuck you guys, we're gone. Like that's literally what they're saying. They're like, you guys deal with it, you know? So I don't even know what Ivy's up to, but yeah. I think we might have exams, but I do not know.
I also think we will have exams. Just like I saw that post as well, and just because Hong Kong, well, like we're in a what fourth wave right now? Is that what it's called? Like, okay, we're in another wave basically. But then relatively, I think we're doing much better than a lot of other countries worldwide. And because like even right now that we're in a wave, we are still allowed to go back to school and do exams and stuff like that. I feel like for the official one, we'll definitely be allowed to go back. But personally, I kind of don't want exams. I envy the A-level students.
Yeah, I'd say we don't have exams, just putting it out there. I hope we don't have, and I hope it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because like how do they ensure the method of grading is like fair? Because if you do exams, like it has a high probability that like you won't do as well because of like fear of like a kind of stress. Like if some people don't have the choice to like not do it, then like they can't ensure that the calculated route and the people who do exams are graded on a fair level. But then they have like the whole year to think about how they're going to plan the exams. So I don't know, but I'd say no. Just putting it out there. Hopefully.
I feel like students wanting to or not wanting to take the exams is also dependent on how well they've been performing in school thus far, right? Like the people like us and like the people that we talk to in school generally have pretty good grades, well, compared to at least the global average. So I think because we have generally like better grades, it would be the most sensible choice for us not to want exams because like why would we risk getting a lower grade when we already have like a good grade, right? But definitely for some people who maybe aren't doing as well as they'd hope would want the exams as an opportunity to sort of prove themselves or have the opportunity to at least improve themselves. So I think that is definitely something that we have to consider. But speaking selfishly, then yeah, I still don't want exams to go on.
And like going back on like how hard I've been studying for like these exams, right? Like I think in regards to like whether or not the exams that we're having right now will happen, like I think before the break or like during the break when the fourth wave hit, I was like, there's no way. I mean, there is a way, but I don't think it's ideal for them to bring us back to school because one, cases are still right, like there's still well, I haven't checked recently, but there's still like quite a few cases, right? And it's still like I guess like fluctuating, right? Or like some like I don't know, like so basically there's still cases, right? And like if you put all 150 students in one room plus let's say like 10 teachers, isn't that just like putting us at more risk than if we were not than if we were like to not go, right? So I think during the holiday, like 3-week holiday, I was like, yeah, it's okay. There probably won't be exams. So I'll just like half study. So like some days I would like eat lunch with my family, or, like go with my friends. I'm like, okay, whatever, right? And then 4 freaking days before the exams, they're like, yeah, you have to come back to school. But here now it's 3 weeks instead of 2 weeks. And yeah, and I'm just like, what? And I was just like shit, like I didn't study enough. So yeah, I feel like because I don't know, I took the August exams, like I studied pretty hard for that, but we did it online. Yeah. So then now like I feel like I always say they're just mocks because it's not the real thing. And when it's the real thing, I'll obviously try harder, but I don't even know if there's going to be a real thing. So I'm just like, I don't know what to do, you know? Yeah.
Also, like, what is your kind of study schedule or like work schedule? Like, do you Because I know some people, when they wake up, they like write a whole list, like with like, wake up at 10 to 11, I'll have to finish my this task. And then at 11 to 12, I'll eat lunch. And then after lunch, like from 12 to 1, I'll do my IAs. And then from like 2 onwards, I'll study Chinese. Like I know people who like plan their day like with like that kind of structured schedule. But I feel like for me, it's quite different because I'm very spontaneous. I wake up and then I'm like, what do I want to do today? And then I just do that task. And I don't have like a set amount. Like I don't say like, oh, I have to finish half of this today. I just go like, I'll just do as much as I can and like try my best to finish it within like the next few days. Like I don't have a very structured work schedule, but it works for me. Like how about you guys for studying for exams? Like how do you guys structure it?
I am one of those people. I like to structure my day, but the problem I've noticed, well, I've gotten better at it, but I've noticed that I often fall into this trap of being overly optimistic with how much I can do in the amount of time that I allocate for each task. So I'm pretty sure it's a thing. I think it's called optimism bias or something. It's like, I think that I can do more than I like practically end up doing. And then because of that, my schedule always ends up becoming messed up. Because say I allocate an hour to do Chinese, I end up taking 80 minutes to do it instead. And then everything gets pushed down by like 20 extra minutes because of my like misscheduling. So because of that, I've recently started to instead, like I have lists of what I plan to do for the day. And then based on how I'm feeling in the moment and how like a rough time I think that it's required, I do it based on that. So instead of allocating the previous day, like, oh, from 10 to 1, I'll be doing Chinese and blah, 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 blah. I'll be like, okay, on Tuesday, I want to do Chinese and I want to do bio, topic 6. Then on Tuesday, I'd wake up and I'd be like, okay, I have 5 hours before lunch. My dad wants me to do something at 4. How should I arrange my time? Because there's always these random events that pop up that you don't anticipate, and it ends up messing everything up. So I think that's maybe more effective. But I try to like reflect on how I originally scheduled it and how the day actually went in order to gauge, you know, how I should actually arrange my day. And I think I've gotten much better at it as I've begun to understand at what times I work best and at what times I don't work at all.
For me, I used to plan out my time. So I used to be like, oh, okay, from 10 to 11, I'll be doing like geo or like, but since like during the holidays, I've been like waking up at 8 and then I do stuff from like, okay, and it takes me like quite a while to like make my breakfast, take photos of my nice breakfast, eat my breakfast. So then like, and then I'd be like, okay, then I have to start working at like 9:30 or 10, right? And sometimes like I don't know what I want to do. Like I don't know what I want to study. I don't know how much time I need. So I end up just like waking up. I'll be like, okay, I'll do a bit of this. And I'm like, okay, that's enough for today. And I just like don't do anything. So I think now I'm like very spontaneous. I'm just like, I wake up, see if I either am able to wake up early or wake up late. So like today I woke up late because I'm like really tired. So I woke up late and I was like, okay, now what do I do? Like I don't know what to do. Like so today, like after we finish this, I'll probably just like go eat lunch and then I'll probably do like some geo because that's coming up. I just do whatever is like closest and whatever I know I need more time for. And if I don't want to do it, then I'm doing art. Like I productively procrastinate. So like I'm working on this piece and I know it's gonna take time. So if I'm not doing one thing, I'll just do art. So I can make some progress. Yeah. So I'm not entirely like not procrastinating. But yeah, it depends on like what I'm feeling during the day.
And I feel like speaking of procrastination, do you want to like speak about ways we can improve our procrastination? Like one of the methods that I personally found useful was like multitasking. Like for example, if I wanted to watch the show, but then like I didn't have time for it, then I would have my iPad beside my laptop playing the show while I have my laptop screen open with like the task I'm supposed to do. And then like I would like try to focus on it, but like once in a while glance over at the iPad, sometimes like glance for an hour, but like other than that, like most of the time it works, but I'm just slow, but I still get it done. And I still get like my leisure. I don't know. It's not the best, but like whatever.
Oh, wow. But then, like, won't you feel like if you're focusing on like or like at least trying to focus on your work and then you move to like your show, do you think like you'll miss out parts of your show? Because then, like, do you think you'll be, yeah, I don't know. I just, because I tried that. It does not work unless I'm doing art. Art is the only thing I can multitask in because I can listen or like I'll read the subtitles and then just like paint, right? But it was like something that requires me to type or read, then I can't, then I have to like listen to music. Whatever I'm watching is like white noise to me.
I think it really depends on the show because I pick those like casual talk kind of variety shows, so it's okay. You know, there's
Okay,
not
yeah,
a lot to see on screen.
yeah,
So
no, I like pick all the Netflix shows, the stuff that you actually need to watch. Yeah, I don't pick those.
I
I think
think
it depends
Janet,
on the subject, actually. Like for me, when I'm doing math, I like to have like, I don't know, a podcast playing in the background or a show playing in the background. Like that's okay. It's almost as if I'm using different parts of my brain. Because for math, it's much more logical and straightforward, so I don't need to think as analytically, I suppose. But for like essay writing subjects, I definitely cannot have a show playing in the background because yeah, I can't like I can't imagine myself trying to write an essay, for example, about I don't know, population transition, and then listening to like I don't know a Netflix show in the background. Like that definitely would not work for me. And wouldn't to me that is not a solution. Like, wouldn't it be more effective if, for example, like I don't see how that would not slow down the rate at which you work. You know what I mean? Wouldn't it be more effective if you do an hour of your just work and you actually manage to finish it, then you have an hour of you just watching the show? Because if you put them together, I don't see how you could finish the same task. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost as if the time you spend working on the task doubles or triples or I don't know, like whatever, it just slows down. So if you actually segregate it, wouldn't you actually be able to focus on each individual task to the full extent and actually spend less total time on it?
yeah, but that depends on the basis of how much self-control you have. Like you have to control you not watching the show and actually focusing on the task, and I
That's
lack
true.
that. So like I found like my like balance is to multitask. Like it's not effective, not very effective, but it works for me.
The thing I do is like because I find that I procrastinate often when I'm bored, I try to almost integrate my subjects, if you will. So instead of doing bio for just what like for instead of saying Saturday is my bio day, I know for sure I will get bored of bio. So I do multiple subjects in one day. So I think of different things and it's much more difficult for me to get bored of the subject. So perhaps I would start the day with bio, learning about I don't know, whatever, the kidney, and I'd get bored of it. I'd feel myself starting to get bored of the kidney, and I'd jump to business and start learning about, I don't know, marketing. So like just to keep things interesting and like spice things up, even though it's still relatively boring. I feel like that really helps preventing me getting bored of whatever I'm supposed to be doing, and it helps me stay on track just because it's more exciting when there's different things that I'm actually putting my mind towards.
I think that's actually like pretty like smart and like effective because then you're tackling like different things and you're still making progress in like all of those things as opposed to like if you like do one subject for one day. I don't know people who do that because I don't do that. I do at least like two, right? But if you do like one subject one day, then it's just like the time that you've like set for yourself, it's not ensured that you're going to use every single time of that like effectively because like, you'll get bored, right? But I think like that's why I use the so I used to use an app for when I'm working. It's called Forest. Yeah, so it's basically like plant a tree and you set a timer and basically like you have like 45 minutes or like it's also called the Pomodoro, I think.
Yeah, the Pomodoro technique.
Yeah, I use that. So it's like you work for 45 minutes or 30 minutes. And then so you work for 45 minutes and you take a 15-minute break. And then after like four of those, then you get like a longer break. Like I sometimes do that because I feel like sometimes like when I work, I don't actually realize like if I'm like really focused, I don't realize how much time goes by. So sometimes like when I work, you work and it's already like time's up and it's like, oh my God, I get a break. And you do it again. Like I feel like allowing yourself like a set amount of time to have a break makes like for me makes me more one focus on my work and it ensures that like I won't be like inclined to like oh let's take a look at my phone for 1 second and 1 second turns to like a whole hour, right? Like for me it ensures like one my phone is like away. Like I always put like if I'm doing the Pomodoro effect I would like put my phone like where I can't see it, right? So I think like that like this technique is like it's actually like pretty effective because you're focused for a set amount of time and you can like you just do work like you don't think about anything. You're just like, well, then you get like a break. You get like a breather, and then you just like go back in. So yeah, I think it's pretty good. That's what I do.
Like another technique thing I have that might work for more people is like studying with friends, like calling someone and looking at them, like being focused. And then it kind of gets you into the mood too, because it's like a guilt trip. It's like someone else is working so hard. It's like, why can't you do the same? So like calling someone while working is really effective. Or like group studying. Like we also did one before for
Bio.
bio. Yeah, and I think that was really effective because it's like everyone's on task and you're like kind of forced to also be on task.
For me personally, I think bio group studying is quite effective just because like you can throw out questions and it's like, oh, each person can say one mark and they're like, oh, I actually didn't think about that. It's much more efficient almost than like looking online and being like, okay, what did I miss? But yes, it is quite effective. The studying with people, like looking at them on the screen doesn't really work for me if it's just like me and another person because I always end up talking. Always.
Me
It's
too.
always my fault. It's always my fault. It's not the other person's fault. It's me. I just start talking. I can't. So I always have to study alone. And I have really, 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 really bad self-control. So in order to like mitigate that or at least alleviate the lack of self-control I have, I try to remove the things that I know I won't be able to control myself from going on. Like my phone, it's almost always on Do Not Disturb. And I usually switch it off when I don't want to be on it.
Damn, that does not sound like you have a lack of self-control.
No. I do have a lack of self-control. Like the reason I do that is because I know I have a lack of self-control.
And
Like if my phone is on, I can just take it and then I can just go on Instagram and stay there for hours.
yeah, it's true.
So if my phone is off and it's, I don't know, wherever I put it, then I'm less inclined to be able to just scroll on Instagram. It's like I'm putting obstacles that prevent me from falling into this rabbit hole of lack of self-control.
Yeah, I get you.
I see. Because I don't get that. I don't scroll on Instagram for hours. Like the max is like an hour. I use Instagram like WhatsApp. It's like just to text.
Oh my god.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I wish I could do that.
I can't do that.
I think it's because I follow the wrong accounts. Because
Yeah.
no shade to anyone. It's just like I follow like personal accounts of people.
Yeah. Like,
and I don't really follow like those meme or whatever accounts. So like I don't scroll.
Like,
and it's just only people like showing off their abs or something. So it's like not like I can scroll all day.
yeah, like for me, oh god, for me scrolling on Instagram, it's more of me going on my explore page than on my feed. Cause feed, I look at the same like memes, but then like all the freaking meme accounts post the same thing. Unless I follow one that's like really special and like has like really bad sense of humor, like I do, like yeah. But it's usually just me on my explore page. Like I'll be like at volleyball or look at like some like TikToks because I don't have TikTok anymore, right? Like so yeah. And then I usually have like a time where I do that, which is like before dinner, because I don't want to like start working and then be interrupted to eat dinner. So like I spend like a whole freaking like hour and a half just on Instagram, like and I like go on my bed and I start like laying down. Like sometimes I'll take a nap. Like, it's so bad. But yeah.
That always happens to me after lunch. After lunch, I'm always tired. It's like an afternoon slump almost. Whenever I eat, I get tired. Does that happen for you guys?
Exactly. That's why I work at night.
Oh, I mean, oh, that's true, but I don't know. I guess that's also why I work in the morning, because it's not like I eat breakfast at 4.
Wait, you don't?
I don't. I eat at like, I don't know, 8.
That's interesting.
Nine.
Oh, that's actually interesting because like I wake up. I don't wake up at 4, but like I wake up at like 8. 8 is the earliest I wake up, or like 7:30, right? Like I'll wake up at 8, and I'll still eat breakfast, but then I'll work. Like I feel like sometimes I think it also depends on how much I eat. If I eat a lot, I don't want to work because I'm like too full, and I'll just be like in my chair, like not doing anything. But like lunch for me, yeah, it depends because sometimes like food does make me sleepy and tired. But then like sometimes I'll just, like drink coffee. I'll be like, okay, time to work.
I think we're at a good place to end the podcast, right?
Yeah.
We've been going on for 58 minutes, I think, and we'll probably do some editing.
So, do you want to start with our recommendations? JC, do you want to go first?
Yes, I do want to go first. Okay, so it's a song by probably one of my favorite artists. It's called The Sun Is in Your Eyes, dash voice memo by Jacob Collier, which is spelled COLLIER. He is like the most talented artist you'll ever meet or like you'll ever like hear. And Yeah, it's just really good. You should listen to it. Very soothing. It's only like a minute and 30 seconds, but it's like worth, yeah.
My recommendation is like a food. Well, this only applies if you're in Hong Kong, but McDonald's has a Hershey's chocolate ice cream that's out now. You should eat it because, well, the sundae is $6.50, so it's discounted. And, you know, the limited edition ice creams they do don't last a long time. So go eat it while you still can. It's cheap and it's pretty good.
So for me, it's not really a thing, but like I'd say go reach out to people you haven't contacted in a long time. Because a few days ago, someone who I haven't spoken to in years texted me out of the blue. And then it's like pretty cool to learn about like what is happening in their lives after like you guys haven't talked for like a long time. Like they have a completely different life in a completely different place. And I think it's pretty cool to like keep in touch with those kind of people you lost contact with. So yeah, that's my recommendation.
Yeah, so thank you for listening to our podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed that really long talk. Yeah,
Bye.
bye.